Hello everybody, my name is Stefan Doyle. I'm the Manager of Education Product Marketing for Software, Content, and Services at Smart Technologies. And I want to thank you for attending this webinar. I'm going to talk today about 11 extraordinary features that really should help you go to your existing customers and outline to them the additional benefits that they are going to get by moving and downloading to Notebook 11 when it is available, and perhaps even more importantly, how it'll help you sell more of the smart collaborative solution. So how you can sell more smartboard interactive whiteboards, more smart response systems. So I hope that this is what you're looking forward to today, and again, I thank you for attending. The first thing I should mention is that we are looking at information that is privileged for our resellers, and so there's this long statement here that you should take a chance to read, but basically it is important for you to know that there is privileged information in here and that what we are showing to you is confidential. We are going to be sharing with you customer presentation files that you can utilize, that you can share Notebook 11 messages with your customers, but this one in particular and some of the information that I'm sharing here today is confidential. Okay. So Notebook 11, I just want to take this slide and sort of explain to you where we are at in the launch of this product. Right now we are in controlled beta trials. We have been running those since February, and we're going to run them right through till April. And those beta trials are giving us a lot of information to ensure that when the product is a release candidate, that it'll be operating with little to no bugs. And so anyways, just wanted you to know that we are deep into that stage, and there are customers who have this product right now who are really taking a good look at it and seeing how it's working. We expect Notebook 11 to be available in the spring. On this call, I'll say that I can be a little bit more specific to you, the reseller. We're looking at a mid to late April release time frame, and things continue to look good for that. But I think when we're communicating to our customers, the main message that we want to give them at this is that this will be available in the springtime, so that when they are imaging their computers over the summer and getting ready for the new year, that this is a product that will be fully available absolutely by that time frame. It is worth noting that this is going to be a no-cost upgrade to existing notebook license holders. So again, that sort of reinforces the message about we continue to add value to the products that your customers and that our customers have invested in. The fourth point on this slide that I do think you need to spend a little bit more time looking into is about notebook recertification options and March onward. I do have a link that will be provided to you in a version of this file, a reseller presentation that you can go look at more carefully. And I think that in the normal course of communications to the resellers, we're going to be outlining that there are options as to how you recertify your sales force to deliver training on Notebook 11, and indeed how some of your customers who probably have recertification in their districts, what they will want to do to take advantage of this. And again, this is going to start happening in mid-March onward, so stay tuned for more information there. Okay, now that I've sort of advanced us into a few things about Notebook 11 and how it comes out, I want to talk briefly, and I want to make mention of the customers that I know that day in and day out you talk to every day, and make sure that even though I'm showing you some features about Notebook 11 here, that you've got maybe more so the benefits that these different personas will see when you outline the features and such. So there are 6 of them, and they should be very familiar to you, but perhaps the other thing that I'm trying to make clear here is that with Notebook 11, we have messages to bring to all of these people, and to some degree some of the newer personas that I talk about, or not newer personas, but some of the personas that I talk about, we have an even stronger message than we used to have before. So just very briefly, the economic buyer. You know who this guy is. You know who this woman might be. The titles can differ. It could be a principal. It could be a superintendent. But these people, they're quite often considering the costs of implementations and the ROI of the products that they invest in. And the case that I think I will make today, and that I hope you're able to make to your customers, is that Notebook11 really increases the value of the investment that they've made, and the implementations that they have out there will continue to pay dividends. So think about this economic buyer when I'm going over some of these features and how he or she might respond to it. The technical buyer, I like to summarize, this guy is concerned about how it's all going to work together. He or she might be wondering, you know, I have many teachers that I need to train on Notebook11, and when I launch, you know, when I roll out Notebook11, how will it be a seamless experience for them? So I do think that when you see some of these features, and even some of the others that we don't even talk about in this webinar today, you'll see that there is a lot of value that's built into Notebook11 for this guy. The early adopter user, and I'm going to just go to the next slide here really quickly too, and the late majority user is all about this product adoption cycle curve that I think we all know that we're on. Some people will argue about the details, but we're somewhere in the middle, where 40% of every classroom out there probably has a smartboard or a competitive product, but 60% remains to be penetrated. And with that almost even dynamic, it means that Notebook11 comes at a time when we have to appeal both to the early majority person that's expecting more powerful features and expects to be able to take Notebook to whole new levels. We also have this late majority user, someone who might come in the day after Labor Day when smartboards have been installed over the summer and Notebook11 has been loaded onto them. And what are the features that I'm going to show you today, and what are the features that you're going to highlight when we want to appeal to this late majority user? How is it easier to use than ever before? The final two personas that I want you to think about, and again, I think in many ways Notebook11 really helps us become even more relevant to these last two, are the students and to varying degrees parents. Students, I think you've all noticed through time that the smartboard was traditionally a front of the classroom device, and the teacher, whether he was an early adopter or a late majority, was using it. Students more so than ever are using smartboards in small group collaboration, in small group learning situations, and even sometimes as maybe as a center, as a personal learning device. So what are the tools that we've added in? What are the features that Notebook11 has that makes this even better? And parents equally, you know, it's not just Notebook. What about Notebook Express? What about some of these things that you have to think around, that wrap around Notebook, that already exist, that again make it even more relevant to this audience? Because it's very important that we reach these stakeholders and that we have something relevant to tell them. Okay, I'm going to jump right in now. I've sort of, I think, led up to this preview thus far, so let's jump right in. When all is said and done, I like to summarize Notebook11 in sort of three, I hope, memorable ways that you can sort of outline it to people. The first one is that in Notebook11 we have made it easier to use than ever before. And I'm going to show you features to that. The second thing is that it is more powerful. We continue to make this a more powerful piece of software that provides more return on investment, that really can, you know, help teachers achieve things that they couldn't achieve before. And I'm going to show you examples of that. And finally, Notebook11 allows a teacher and students who use our product to be more creative than ever before. And creativity is important. It's something that we do hear very often. That is something that we want to instill in learning. We want teachers to feel that they can be creative and to personalize their learning. And so we're going to show you some features today that actually really do achieve that. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, first one. Maybe I'll just say really quickly here. I've delivered this presentation where when I show something, I say this is definitely easier to use, and other people say to me, well, actually you've shown something that I think is more powerful or more creative. There is a bit of a marketing trick here. Again, I wanted to show you not every feature, but I wanted to put this into some perspective. And so Feel free to disagree with me if you think I show you something that is easy to use, but you say, actually, that is really powerful. If any one of them, I think, really does apply quite well. Okay, the first feature that I'd like to talk to you about is the adaptive toolbar. Okay, now I've got a screen capture here, but what I'm going to do is actually just go back to the full screen mode, and you're going to see, if I sort of motion to the top of my screen here, that the toolbar is a little bit different than what you would expect to see if you had Notebook 10.x, 10.8, 10.7 or something on your computer right now. The adaptive toolbar is a powerful feature, and really it says right here what it does. When you select a tool, its relevant properties dynamically appear to the right of the tools group. So we have actions that are up here, we have tools that are in the middle, and then properties that appear. So I'm going to try and do this slowly here, but when I click on a shape, for instance, to the right of that, features that have appeared that weren't cluttering my desktop before right now, but that are contextual, that the toolbar has adapted to me, the user, so that it makes it more intuitive what I should do next. It is easier to use. Okay. Equally, if I move to, I wanted to actually select a pen tool, and I wanted to choose whether it was calligraphic ink or a crayon, something that I'll show you a little bit later, or a highlighter, the tool properties change, again, so that it is easier for me to pick the relevant properties as they appear, and for these things to disappear when I move to something else. So for instance, now when I move back to the eraser, it's only giving me options as to choose what eraser, and it sort of goes away there. It's a really powerful tool. One of the things that I do like to mention is that, yes, we've introduced this new adaptive toolbar, but for people who are familiar with our products, remember when I said that there's the early adopter user who's been using our products for years? He or she is used to going and adjusting properties by accessing a toolbar over here, or he or she is looking at simply right-clicking on something. So if I were to select this, I would right-click, and my properties would be at the bottom of this right-click. We have maintained that in the software. So unlike some other pieces of software, maybe Microsoft Excel or whatever, something like that, I've noticed in my experience that the interface completely changes when I move from version 2003 to 2007 or 2007 to 2010. We've tried to sort of bridge the gap here. So the toolbar has familiarity to people who've been using it before, but it also is adaptive and is probably, I would argue, more powerful to a user who's using it for the first time. Okay? So that's the first feature. The second one I want to show you is what we're calling grouping and ungrouping gestures. Now, you might not exactly be able to see what I'm doing here in the room here, but I want to just sort of show how we would take these three objects here, and you can imagine maybe a more pedagogically relevant example, but how do I group and ungroup these? Well, in the past, I would select them all, I would right-click, I would press group, and then I would group again. So that would be 4 clicks to more or less group all these objects together. Because Smart uses it uses our DVIT technology, and because we are an innovator, we've actually done something here which we think is going to be a little bit better than those 4 clicks. So I select the device, I press on it, and I shake back and forth. I just sort of move back and forth, and very quickly I've actually grouped and ungrouped these objects together. It's something you can do on our 400 series board, our 600 series board, and our 800 series boards. And again, if I sort of show that again, where I quickly drag everything and I just move back and forth, it's a powerful new feature that no one else can do, and it's taking advantage of what I like to call our perch as an innovator. We are the people who said, wouldn't it be easier to group and ungroup just by clicking once and then shaking your hand rather than having to right-click and then 3 clicks to get to it. So it really does get into that. It's much easier to use. It's much more intuitive to the user. Okay, I'm going to move on to a third feature. This one we call page reset. So if I were quickly going to ask maybe students to work together, and this one I think really appeals to students. So let's say you've got sort of a center-based learning environment where the students are working on a smartboard together, and you've got an exercise where they're learning about shapes. So let me say this was the activity. I want the students to place in order from left to right a large green circle with a yellow outline, a medium blue, basically what I'm reading here. And when you're finished, reset the page to where it was. Let me just sort of, again, let me quickly sort of reinforce what we would do here. If I wanted to create a green circle with a, I think it was a yellow outline, green circle, yellow outline, I quickly create that here. A blue square with a red outline, so blue square, red outline. I'm just sort of almost doing this to reinforce the contextual toolbar. And an orange triangle with a blue outline. So orange triangle, blue outline, and I quickly create that here. Now, again, I'm going to have to move these objects here, and again, and you could imagine in a learning scenario, maybe with an 800 series board, more than one student could be working at this at the same time. And it's great that I've been able to do this. I could even pull the answer key and say, yeah, that looks pretty good. Good work. Okay. But if I have students who are following immediately after this exercise, and maybe the students who were at this one have sort of messed this up, how do I get it back to where the page was just right at the beginning? Well, we've introduced something that really quickly and really easily is page reset. All right, so I'm going to just quickly show you how we do a page reset, and this will allow me, while I'm doing this, to quickly show you how you customize a toolbar. So the customized toolbar, as you saw, I just pressed in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to quickly add the reset page button to this toolbar because it doesn't have it in this room here. So I'm going to actually drag that in, and I'm going to make it an addition to my toolbar. I'm going to press done, and very quickly I'm going to press this one button here. And what it's going to do is with the second click, it's going to ask for a confirmation here, is I'm going to reset the page. What it does is it puts that page back to the sort of pristine state that it was in so that the next group of students can come and do that same activity. They can, build the shapes, move them around, and none of the work that was done beforehand is saved. This is a feature that teachers have asked for. And I think we did it with a very, very simple, elegant way. Again, it's just 2 clicks. You click once on the page reset, once to confirm, and with 2 clicks, the teacher has created sort of a more dynamic learning opportunity and is supporting a sort of centers-based environment. I won't mention who, but some of our competitors do something similar to this. It's not as easily done. I did a quick test, and for one of our competitors, it takes 5 clicks to achieve the same thing as we do with 2. So, again, easy to use, and I would argue quite powerful. Okay, the fourth extraordinary feature that I want to show you today is what we call Simple Sound Recorder. This is another one that has been asked for by teachers, and it was to get a very easy way for us to include audio in the notebook file. So in this example, imagine that the exercise that I had just shown before about an ordering exercise, and yes, I had these instructions written up here, but what if I also wanted to record audio instructions of that? I wanted to basically read out what is here. Well, with the Simple Sound Recorder, it's as simple as inserting. So I'm going to go up here, Insert, Sound File, okay? And this sound file, I can give it a name. If I don't give it a name, it's just going to drop it in. But all I need to do now is to hit record. Now, is to start recording. Now, I would need to have a microphone attached to my computer, but let's assume that I have a microphone or it has an internal microphone. I just start the recording, and it would record my words moving forward here. So if I was recording the Simple Sound Recorder, I would say something along the lines of, students, this is an ordering exercise where I want you to place an order from left to right. A large green circle with a yellow outline, a medium blue square with a red outline. You get the idea. I would do the recording, and then what I would do is I would stop it. It would ask me if I want to preview it, but I don't need to preview it. I'm just going to quickly attach it. And what it does is it'll record that sound right there in the audio file. I don't need to use Audacity. I don't need to file save that somewhere to my desktop and then link it back in. It has been embedded right in, and it'll play right into the sound recording file. So like I said, it's a very powerful feature that teachers have been asking for years. And again, once again, very important to note, this is an object, so this could be an image. I could rename it. I could resize it, and I could include those audio files right on my notebook page. Another example, I think, that fully enables sort of the small group learning or even personalized learning that I talked about and certainly appeals to our students is how could they use Sound Recorder to put their thoughts into a prepared file. So if this image was prepared and was shared by the teacher and the instructions were use the Sound Recorder to describe what is happening in the picture, each student could, or any student could, insert their sound file, record it, and have basically, you know, their participation in the lesson be recorded and linked right here. So I would stop the recording and I would attach it, and then I would probably go here, and if this was indeed something that I had recorded, you know, why not change that so that the recording is named something that will be a little bit more specific and a little bit more memorable. So I think you get the idea that we really are onto something, again, that teachers have asked for. This is something that they've asked for over time. We've made it real simple and really powerful. Okay, that gets me to my next sort of features that I've sort of grouped under more powerful or make Notebook 11 more powerful in the learning environment. So let's quickly look at a few more. This one is really exciting. We're calling it the embedded web browser. And really, if you take a look at what I'm showing here, what we have done is moved the internet, which was previously on a browser outside of Notebook. We've moved the internet into Notebook. The reason why we've done that is because we know that one of the key tools that teachers use when they are actually teaching is to go to the internet. So let me just go here and quickly go to a website, one that we all should be familiar with. So I'm basically just typing in google.com, and what this is going to do is take me to Google. Now, let me maybe take a step back here and show you how I would embed a web browser. So let me just open up a blank page. All I would need to do is basically insert, and you just sort of go down here, and it's basically Internet Browser. And what it does is it actually drops this browser into my page, and just as I had typed on Google before, I have a full-powered web browser on my page. I'm just going to go back here, and I want to show you some of the things that this is. So first of all, it is very important for everyone to know that this is still an object in Notebook, okay? So that means we can do the things that we're used to doing with an object. We can move it. We can write over top of it. So if this were a web page that I wanted to actually, you know, I mean, I think everyone's seen Google before, but if I wanted to write over top of this web page and actually say that, you know, in Google you can search for images, you can search for videos, you can go to your Gmail, I'm actually annotating over top of that website right now. Now, if I'm moving in this website, the annotations have not affected it at all. Okay, so they're still there. And I just wanted to make that clear. The other thing, too, is that this being an object, and I think that this is very interesting. I'm just going to erase this here quickly, but what I think is very interesting for those of you out there who have sold tables before, if we take this object and we rotate it 90 degrees, if Smart Notebook is running on a table, you can have students looking at websites from all different angles of that table. And we recently have made it clear to our customers and to our resellers that notebook content is, you know, we have thousands and thousands of pieces of notebook content on Smart Exchange. And by being able to browse within Smart Exchange on a table, I think we've introduced a very powerful experience. You know, very quickly, I might as well take you guys to a quick image. Let's do a search for bees. Okay, bees, and let's search images. Okay, I'm going to minimize that. Now we've gotten to Google's image website, and we have all these images of bees. And I just want to quickly show you that, again, another key feature. When we go in here, I can drag these images straight out of the web page right into my notebook file. Again, imagine how powerful that is when we have our students and we ask them to do their own self-research, and maybe they're learning about bees, for them to quickly go to Google, to quickly find images and to quickly pull portions of a website straight onto a Notebook11 page. We've added a lot of power here. The next question I always get after this is, can you have more than one browser on a page? And the answer is you can have as many browsers as you need. So I've used this example before. I mean, what if you're asking students to source more than one site at a time? So maybe they are learning, maybe it's a journalism class, and maybe we're following world events, and we want to find out how a world event is being covered on 2 different websites. So we're here in Canada. Let's go to cbc.ca, and let's bring up that website. And we can actually see that website, and it is live. So, well, that makes sense, doesn't it, that one of the top stories would be in Canada would be about hockey. But how and what is going on a different website? So if I am looking at www.cnn, we're going to have, of course, a different browser. And let's just go to CNN's site. And we can, again, have these interacting at the same time on the same page, resize them so that we can see what we need to see. So that's the embedded web browser. I think the case of adding more power to the Smart Notebook is really made by this one than anyone else. And I should emphasize at this point, no one else has an embedded web browser. No competitor, no competitive software has something like this. Moving on to the next feature, I want to talk about the Activity Builder. The Activity Builder is particularly powerful because, first of all, this is something that is built for a multi-platform environment. So I'm going to show you something that many of you will look at and you'll say, that feels familiar to what we used to do in the Lesson Activity Toolkit. There was a lot of Flash in there, worked very well in Windows, maybe not so much in Mac environments. What I created here today and what I'm going to show you is something that I created in Notebook. It's in the Activity Builder tab, and there's actually something here that the Activity Builder that I'm going to show you in a second. But let me show you really what it does first. So I'm just going to quickly go back to this page here. So this is a reduce, reuse, recycle. Put the items in the correct bin. This is an activity where you can imagine students coming up to the board, students working with one another to answer, the question, which is, where do these items belong? So let's do a little try here. I'm going to take and drag my apple to the recycle bin. Should it be recycled? Okay, what's happened there? It's bounced back to the spot it was, and I programmed that in there. And I'll show you how I do this in a second, but really I'm trying to teach kids, oh, I guess I throw the apple in the garbage. No, it doesn't do that either. So then the answer must be I can compost it. When I moved it there, it disappeared and it sort of got dropped into that container, dropped into that bucket. So again, you could ask the students, and they would work this very quickly together. So I guess I throw these in the garbage. I guess I can compost newspaper. Perhaps I should recycle this tin can and this bottle. And you sort of quickly get the sense that this activity, again, has a nice sort of pleasing, engaging experience for the students. And it's something that I, as the teacher, created, and I'll show you how I did that really quickly. By the way, just for fun, when I was delivering this presentation, I also was trying to reinforce other features as I went along. And in this file, I've included, English instructions that I built using the simple sound recorder. And I also showed something here that I wanted to make sure people understood. What if I had a classroom with a lot of English language learners? Do you think that by using the simple sound recorder to maybe record instructions in Spanish would be a great, or in French if it were in Quebec, or any other language, would it be a great, sort of more powerful way of reaching the students? I think so, and so I just sort of included that in there so that people, I think, would get another idea for how some of these features can be used. Let me just quickly again show you how I built this activity. So if I go to the activity builder over here, what I did is I took all of these images out of the gallery. So the recycle bin, the compost, all of these things were downloaded from my gallery. And what I'm going to do with the activity builder now is create how these objects will react with one another. So if I want to identify these tools and I want to quickly select one, so I'm going to select this one here, and I'm going to edit its properties so that, and this is basically how it's the finished product, but you can see over here that I can add the objects that this container will accept. So right now it is accepting a water bottle, the plastic bottle, I can recycle the newspaper, and I can recycle the tin can, but the remaining objects all on the page, I cannot. It will reject these. Okay? The settings, when an object is accepted, what happens? Well, I can choose for it to fade out like it did when you saw the activity, snap to center spin, and I can also choose what it'll do when it is rejected. Either it'll do nothing or it'll bounce back. And again, I can save these activities, and all I need to do is to go through each one of these settings and sort of each one of these each one of these containers and set the sort of parameters. Really what we're doing is we're allowing, in a very simple way, a teacher to do programming, to do a little bit of very powerful programming so they can create some of these activities in the activity builder. So again, I don't want to spend too much time showing exactly how it's done. I think I've made the case, and it's really important for you to know too, and we're going to sort of create more examples of these, is the activity builder can be quite powerful. It doesn't just appeal to the example I showed you here, which is recycling, and probably for young grade ages, but there's really many examples what I think our early adopter teachers are going to use to really sort of create some powerful learning opportunities. Okay, I'm going to move to some of the next features, and these ones I can go through fairly quickly. The improved text tools is something that has been asked for quite a while. So we do have text tools that appear, and I'm going to sort of show this here, that really amount to, and there's, I think, a real simple way of explaining this. A lot of people have continued to use Microsoft PowerPoint because it is better at building bulleted lists. It is better at, using, it creates hanging indents, which just basically means that everything lines up with the word above it. It has adjustable spacing, and it allows font previews. And font previews is what you can see when I actually click on this up here. You can actually see what the font might look for. So we have done this now with Notebook 11. So the Notebook 11 text engine has been completely rebuilt from the ground up so that it acts and feels as powerful as what people expect when they use Microsoft PowerPoint. And I think that's important. One of the things we've talked about over the years is that Notebook is a platform that teachers should be using to create, deliver, and to create and deliver these amazing collaborative lessons. And when they were still using something else because there was a simple reason why, they were still using PowerPoint because the text tools were better, I think we're trying to remove those barriers, and we're trying to bring them in, and we're trying to have them embrace Notebook. So improved text tools will really appeal to a lot of people. I know personally when I'm creating presentations, I'm so much happier to actually be able to quickly build out my bulleted point. It is faster, it is more powerful, and it is more elegant. All right, number 8. So for number 8, our 8th extraordinary feature is what we're calling improved tables. Smart has led in this already. I don't believe there are any interactive whiteboard makers who have tables, or very few of them do, in their software. And yet it was something that when we came out with, there were already ideas from our customers on how we could improve it. So I'm going to show just a couple things here. First of all, one of the things about tables before, and it's a minor thing, but was that to move a table, you had to move it from the square in the upper box. That's no longer the case. I can actually move it from anywhere, and it's just a little bit more of an expectation that that's how it should be movable. Another thing I'll point out right quickly here is these screen shades. If you look in the upper left-hand corner of the shade here, when I actually open and close the shade, it shows me a preview, more or less, that I actually have a screen shade that I can close and hide this. So in this case, when I'm asking, maybe this is an activity where I'm asking students to talk about these countries, you know, I might want to hide the fact that it's Brazil and they have to expose that at the end. But if they were, for instance, being asked to add other elements about that country, or if we were asking to add properties to this table, we have all of that functionality still here. And I should also make note that it's much easier to move things in and out, and they resize properly. So just a lot of little things that made tables easier to use before, and just again make the experience more powerful. So sort of echoing what I said on improved text tools. One of the things that we found that people were possibly still using other tools, maybe Microsoft Excel, maybe even Microsoft Word, to deliver sort of a tables or to deliver a lesson in which tables were quite appropriate. By adding these new features in, we think we've actually made the experience so sort of, I guess, extraordinary and simple that we think that people are going to even be more likely to use tables in Notebook 11. Okay, so I've shown you a bunch of features that I think make Notebook 11 more easier to use and more powerful. We're going to finish up with some ones that I think are quite creative and help the teacher and the student, or anyone indeed who's using Notebook, to be more creative. So let's start with the custom creative pen. This is one that teachers have asked for many, many years. And for those of you who know the creative pens, we can go up here, creative pen, and we're familiar with many of them. So these were used in some cases either as a stamp or you know, again, just to be a little bit more interesting and engaging. So if this was the activity that I had with the students in the past, which of these fruits, you know, they might select a creative pen, maybe the happy face, and they'd circle the ones that they think are fruits. So the cherry is a fruit, or maybe they would stamp the ones. So this looks like a lemon, so yeah, a tomato, we probably argue about that, but let's say for now it's a fruit. Certainly the apple is, and unlikely that the radish or the eggplant is. But what teachers were asking for was, I want to create my own pens. So I want to be able to maybe in this case I'll give the example of a check mark. So I'm going to ungroup these here. I basically was using the shake to ungroup. And if I want this to now be, this actual check mark to be my creative pen, let's just quickly show you how we would do that. So again, I would go to the creative pen, and I would actually select one of them. So let's overlap the black one here, and I'm going to use a custom stamp image. I'm going to select the object, and basically it is right here. What it's done is it's added it in, and I'm going to save the tool properties, and now that pen has been changed from black to being these check marks, okay? It really is a simple thing, but again, it's one of those things that teachers kept asking for. And again, this could be anything. So we could browse to a different object here, and it could be an image, it could be something from the gallery. Really, it's limited by your own imagination. Okay, let's go to some of the last few features. I'm going to go back to full screen here for a second, just to show this image here. This was an image that was created using the crayon feature. Okay, the crayon is new. I do have to go back to my screen here and select crayon, and I'm just going to, just for fun, add a little bit here, add a little bit of red, and you guys can see the properties look and feel like crayon. And I have to tell you, this is really fun, really engaging for students. My son, a colleague of mine, her son, have already spent time in front of smartboards and done their own creations, done their own drawings. They've really become engaged with the activity. So, like I said, early grade teachers are going to be really excited about this, and no one else does it. So it's just another example of how Smart leads. We led when we came out with things like the calligraphic pen for the last version of Notebook, and we've sort of led through time, and the crayon's just another example of that. Okay, I've saved the best for last. The 11th extraordinary feature, and this one really is extraordinary, is what we're calling the Notebook SDK. SDK stands for the Software Developers Kit. And what this really means is that an entire ecosystem of content developers, from literally a guy who can program in HTML5 all the way up to third-party publishers, are going to be able to create content, be able to create features, and to be able to create things like widgets and apps that will be able to be downloaded and added to Smart Notebook. So it will be just like adding an app to your phone. You will go to the Smart Exchange, you will download an app or download a widget or download a feature that didn't exist in Notebook 11, and that functionality will be immediately added to Notebook. So it, of course, I think helps to sort of understand what this might be. So I'm going to give you a few examples. And I should note that between now and when Notebook 11 is available later this spring, we're going to start adding, I think, short videos, so keep your eye out, that will describe some of these widgets, some of these apps, and actually help you to explain it to your customers even better. But let me go and show you some of these right now. So in my content, I have included some of the sampling of apps that we have. So let's go and let's bring one of them in here. So basically what I'm dragging in here right now is a dictionary.com widget. Okay, so it says drag word here to look up its definition in the dictionary. So just for fun, let me actually write widget. And let's drag that, see what the definition of a widget is. Now you'll notice for some of you that this is a very traditional definition of a widget, and I just thought it would be fun to show that. But what really happened here? So I wrote the word widget, and I could write any word. I could write, you know, what's the definition of dog? Okay, drag it in here. Okay, what happened is my handwriting, when I dragged it in there, recognized my handwriting, translated it to text, went to a third-party website, in this case dictionary.com, entered that information into their search engine, returned these results, and then populated it all into my Notebook file. I never had to exit Notebook, and that functionality really was very seamless. Again, I didn't even have to type. And if I want to export out, I think you'll see there, if I want to export out the definitions, I just quickly pressed on one button, which I'll motion to, which is right here. That is functionality that would never be possible without the Notebook SDK, and we think a lot of people are going to line up to add this powerful functionality. It goes to our central message, which was we don't feel that we want people to exit Notebook if they can stay in Notebook and have that learning experience. So let me show you a couple other examples just for fun. This one's one that we built. It's a total mock-up. It's called Math Monster. So let's say we've got a small group of students and they come up to our smartboard and we want them to answer these questions. So let's say it's someone like my daughter who's just learning mathematics right now, and 5 plus 3, and she says, well, the answer to that is 8. Okay. 1 plus 1, the answer to that is 2. Okay. 2 plus 1, let's say she gets the answer wrong. 2 plus 1 is 4. Okay. What you probably saw here is, again, some really powerful functionality enabled by the SDK. When I hand wrote, it actually, this Math Monster thing recognized that I wrote 8, went back in and said that 8 was the correct answer, and changed my black text to green. The next one also was correct, and so it changed it to green. But the third one, the answer 2 plus 1, I answered incorrectly, and I answered 4, and it turned it to red text, red being wrong. So if I completed the activity here, this functionality is all occurring because of programming in the background. Okay, and so that's another example of a widget. Let's just do one more here, and I've already got it loaded up here. And this one here is the Google Maps widget. So you're all familiar with Google Maps. What I'm zeroing in on here is Calgary, and I want you to know that this object here is a live Google map. So by pressing on the plus button, I actually can zoom into downtown Calgary. By pressing out or by moving, I can actually move here. I want to sum up with a few slides here. I've only shown 11 features. There are more features in Notebook 11. I just picked 11 because I thought it was a little clever and because I have to limit myself somehow. But this is a good tool, I think, for you in the trenches. So this sums up the 11 features that I showed you today. And if you look across the top here, these are some key competitors, P being the people named after the Greek titan Promethean. E/RM is Epson with RM software. And I've highlighted where they have similar functionality. So yes, the page reset feature is something that Promethean has, but for instance, RM does not. And there are a few examples of the other competitors. So sometimes I look, well, Teamboard has something that is an adaptive toolbar, but it's terrible compared to ours. And Mimeo does have something like this. But if you look at this closely, and people recognize that typically the strongest software alternative out there to Notebook 10.x, 10.8 at this point in time, used to be Promethean. Now with Notebook 11, we have a whole host of features that they don't even have. So they don't have the SDK. They don't have a creative pen. They don't even have tables, let alone us, how we've improved them. They do not have a browser. This really puts you in a leg up against your competitors, and I want you to really start thinking about how you can out-specify, how you can basically say when there's a bid out there that, you know, the software must have a Notebook SDK or an SDK of some kind. This is a really important thing that I think, again, proves again that SMART continues to lead and that Notebook 11 is really, really a powerful tool. I want to sort of circle back to the images here that I showed at the beginning and some of these personas. And again, really quickly, our economic buyer, our technical buyer, what are the things that they're going to see when they see Notebook 11? I don't think they're going to, maybe a superintendent doesn't exactly care that we have the page reset feature, but he will care if it helps to enable adoption. Will more students use the board? Will my teachers be more proficient if there's something like the adaptive toolbar? This tech buyer, I know some of them out there in our tech trials have already created their own widgets. So, what are some of the things that he's going to see with Notebook 11? The teacher, who sees possibilities now, wow, I'm really looking forward to that activity builder and taking it to the next level. A new teacher, I'm really excited about that group and ungroup gesture. That's really easy. That will be a lot easier to do sorting activities and things like that. Students, we want them to I want to try it. I want to try that pen, or sorry, that smart crayon. And again, even beyond Notebook, even beyond Notebook 11, with things like Notebook Express, with things like, some school districts using Notebook 11 on mobile devices, or sending homework through to their students with Notebook 11. How are the parents going to become more engaged than ever before? I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the future, so I have not one more thing, but sort of 3 more things to talk to you about today. But I do want to, point 12, if there was a 12th feature, it would be talking just generally about the road ahead. And these are some of the future products that are being considered in the coming year, and even that phraseology, I'll make a joke at the expense of our lawyers. They made us write this very, non-committally, but these are the types of products that you are going to see in the very, very near future. A next generation gallery. We're going to be coming out with a beta version that comes out with the Notebook 11 that is going to be really about being able to search for content more powerfully than ever before. So whether it's content that's on the web, content that's on the Smart Exchange, or content that maybe is even on your school servers, we're going to be able to connect teachers to the content that exists and the content they're looking for even better than before. Notebook for iPads is a product that we're going to be talking about right away. It's coming out this summer. We're going to be showing it at ISTE in June, and it'll be ready for implementations over the summer and definitely be ready for the fall timeframe. And finally, something that I'm just going to call Notebook Lite right now, but it basically will help to even further solidify the things that I've talked about in this meeting. How does Notebook become even more relevant for students? How does it become even more relevant for parents? And so Notebook Lite will probably be a combination of licensing adaptations that we've made, possibly a new product. It will, in some ways do what the Notebook Interactive Viewer did a little while ago, and in some ways possibly even sort of replace or at least complement Notebook Express. So stay tuned for that. We sort of see the future and how people are going to need to use Notebook, both to create content and to consume content. And so we're really excited about where we're taking these things next. So I really want to thank you for spending some time today on this webinar. I think that the more time you spend learning about this product in the next few weeks before we launch it are going to pay dividends, so that when it is available, that you can really sort of get your customers out there to really embrace it and to get behind it and to download it as soon as possible. So once again, thank you for your time.